Hey guys, what's up? It's Elijah. Welcome back to my channel. I've been gone for a little bit and there's not really an excuse. Kind of just stopped. I don't know, I wasn't really inspired, and then I ended up going to hometown for like 2 weeks, and then I came back like a week ago and I spent time with Talia. It's kind of just all over the place, but I'm back now. As you can see, I have my hair done. But first things first, if you are new, do not forget to subscribe and like this video at any point if you do like it. Let's get on into this video. Video we're going to be talking about Wattpad and writing. Now, my friend Tati was really looking for tips on like how to write and how to start a book and all this other stuff because she kind of wants to write one of her own, and I've been writing for a little while now. I've definitely gained a lot of tips and tricks and things that I want to share with you guys. I have the entire list on I swear. Anyways, I just give you guys some tips and tricks if you are looking to write a Wattpad book, or if you just want tips and tricks on how to write in general and like publish on Wattpad. This is specifically about fan fiction in general, but I mean the tips and stuff do work for all types of books because this is more of like the start it and things like that. I have everything that I could ever think of listed, so this might be a long video, so grab your snacks and let's get started. I did do a previous video like this before a long time ago, and you can watch it if you want to. I'll link it below. All I really did was talk about like the basic things, but in this video I'm gonna cover a lot more than my last time. When I tell you I have a list, I have a whole, yeah, we're covering all of this today. The very first thing I have listed right here is a schedule. You want to make sure you actually have the time to create and write a book because it is time consuming. Just make sure you actually have the time to create the book and continue writing. Having an upload date can also be helpful because it helps you make sure that way you know when the next chapter needs to be finished and proofreaded and done by this set day. Let's say you upload all your chapters on Mondays. You want to make sure, let's say you just published a chapter on Monday and you have Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday. You have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday to finish writing the chapter and finish proofreading and make sure all your grammar is correct and all this stuff before uploading it. Yes, having an upload date is super helpful, and it helps ensure that your followers know when you're uploading. It also helps you make sure you are done with the chapter on time, but also do not rush uploading a chapter. Do not rush finishing a chapter. Rushing it's not going to be at your best. It's just going to make it worse in a sense because you didn't have enough time to finish it, you didn't have time to proofread it, and you're rushing yourself. And also, don't stress if you have an uploading date. Do not stress about missing one. It's better, it's quality over quantity. I'd rather put out a really good chapter 2 weeks later than have a really crappy chapter uploaded on time. That's just me. You can rush your chapters, but I really recommend that you don't. Also, here's another tip. If you are going to miss an uploading day, or if you're going to miss several uploading days or anything like that, always update your followers or notify your followers on your community/communications tab. When you're writing something on there, make sure you check the box that says notify followers. Make sure it's checked or like highlighted green, so that way it sends the notification out to your followers so they know what's going on if you do miss an uploading date and they're really looking forward to it. That's just a helpful tip. That's what I usually do if people are wondering where I've been or what happened to the book. That's usually what I do, update them on the community/communications tab. Everybody can look at it, and it's just helpful all around for you and your followers and your readers. I forgot to mention this in the intro. If you hear noise, I have family, so it's gonna be a little loud. Genre. Oh my god, this is my favorite part. What kind of book do you want to write? Do you want it to be nonfiction? Do you want it to be a fan fiction? Do you want it to be romance? Do you want it to be a mystery, crime, thriller? Like, there's so many genres, so just make sure you know what genre it is because it will ask you when you do go to publish your book on Wattpad. It's going to ask you what genre your book is, and there's a whole bunch that you can also go look at because there's so many kinds of books that you can write, but I specifically write fan fiction. It's my favorite. Creating the concept/idea. Come up with the concept or idea of your book. Here's an example. A girl is forced to marry someone she doesn't even like. That is a concept/idea. It basically just tells you what the book's about. Just make sure you have an idea of what you want the book to be about, or like the main concept that you want the book to follow. And along with the concept comes the plot. What the plot is how you want the story to start and end. This is important to have a plot because if you don't have any idea on how you want your book to start and how you want your book to end, it can go in a completely opposite direction that you didn't even want in the first place. So you do not want that. Make sure you have the plot all worked out. It's important that you know exactly what you want to happen in the book, or the plot and the whole overall concept of your book won't really make any sense. It'll just seem like random things are happening, or that was just thrown in, and that doesn't really fit into play in what happens and like how that resolves itself, you know? My tips for the plot is, what I usually do is write down key points of things that you want to happen, and if you feel like the key points that you don't really fit with the concept or you feel like you can't fit it in, or it's just random, it doesn't really make sense, then take it out. You want your book to overall be cohesive, and like with all the conflicts and problems in the book, you want them all to have a resolution. If none of them have a resolution, then it's all over the place, it's jumbled, it's crumpled, and it doesn't make any sense. So make sure your plot overall is smooth. Just make sure it's cohesive and it goes together. The characters, I love this part. I love creating characters. The characters, you can either create all of them before or after you write the plot, and it doesn't really matter. I personally think with the characters is the first thing that I do because I love creating personalities. It's so fun for me. If their personalities are all the same, then the book's not going to do well, because who wants a bland book who wants a bland book in general of them responding the same way, them doing the same things, acting exactly the same. Now don't get me wrong, you can have the characters be similar because, you know, they get along or they're best friends, but you don't want to make them exactly the same. Like, for example, a book that I'm writing right now, one character is like very outgoing, loves to go to parties, she's very charismatic and charming, but she's also more to herself. She doesn't really express her feelings with others. She doesn't like to talk about her feelings. She's very introverted in a way, and she only really cares about other people's feelings before her own. But then there's also her best friend, who is similar in that way, but she also calls her out on the bullshit that she does, which is like they kind of balance each other out. Like I said, they're similar, but they also have different ways of responding. They also have different experiences. They also have, my main character in this book has trauma. Like, you want to make sure that all the personalities are completely different from each other, but also similar in ways that they can be friends. If it helps, grab a notebook or a sheet of paper and write down their names, their age, even where they're from, all of their trauma or their past relationships, like everything that you feel like is going to be important in the story. Make sure you have all of it written down, so that way in the future while you're writing the book, if you want to reference something, you already have it written down, you already know what all of that information is, so it's easier for you to refer back to instead of just thinking, oh wait, what did I put in that chapter? Because I still do that. It's probably bad, but this is my tip to you. Don't be like me. Write it down. Make sure you have all of their age, their mom's name, their dad's name, their grandpa's name, like whatever you think is important or whatever you know you're gonna want to include in the story. Also, do not make it unrelatable. I hate stories where you start it and it's just an unrealistic description of a girl who is not, you know, like relatable to think about, you know? It's like perfect hair, perfect body, perfect eyes, perfect lips. Like, nobody's perfect actually, but society paints this picture of a perfect girl and somebody puts it in a book and it's like, I can't relate to that. You also want to be able to have your readers relate to your characters, especially you too. Like, I relate to a lot of my characters in some ways, like my main character. She cares about other people's feelings more than her own, and that's definitely me. I put everybody else before myself, which is bad, but that's just how I am. So you want to make them relatable. You want to make sure that they're not impossible to imagine as a human. You don't want to make them like a Barbie. Make them real, make them vulnerable, make them have feelings. You can make them as gorgeous as you want. Do not get me wrong. There's no need to make it seem like they've never been through trauma or anything bad has happened to them in that sort of sense, or anything hasn't happened to them in general, because I feel like that's not really relatable. You want your readers to fall in love with the characters you're putting out there, whether they're good or bad. An example of like how you can like write down her personalities or backstory and stuff like that. The girl's name's Maya. She's 20. She's kind of shy and to herself, but stands up when she speaks about something that's important to her. She got adopted when she was 3 and has yet to meet her birth parents. She also cares a lot about other people's feelings before her own, and she could be confident but very insecure at times. That's just a small preview of like what you could write down, like a little backstory, a little bit about her. It also helps you in a sense to how she would respond to things. Like this says, she cares a lot about other people's feelings before her own. She wouldn't really respond in a bold type of way unless it was really important to her. I don't know, I feel like small things like that are important. So if somebody like were to cuss her out on the street, she wouldn't say anything. But making her say something would just make her character seem a little be out of her character, because she doesn't seem like somebody who would stand up for herself. Make sure it makes sense. Don't make somebody super shy and then have them just all of a sudden like, ooh, you hoe. You can stand up for herself, don't get me wrong, but like make sure that the responses and the way they act and portray themselves relates to the character's personality that you wrote down, that you want them to be. Face claims. Now this is specifically for fan fiction. Don't really think like novels or anything have face claims. Face claims, bold text, face claims are so important. Face claims. With writing fan fiction, there's a lot of stories, including mine, where people like to take actual Instagram stars or some TikTokers in general, or random people that they find on the Explore page, because I've done that before too, and use them as the main character. Hold on, before I even say anything, claiming someone's face as what they would imagine that certain character to look like. Now, you don't have to have a face claim. That's just a number one thing. You don't have to have a face claim. It's not necessary, but there are a lot of stories on Wattpad's fanfiction specifically where they claim somebody's face, like a TikTok or something, that they portray their character as. Now, this is just to give you a better visual of how they would think they would look like. It doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, that's who I envisioned them with. That's not the case. You don't have to have a face claim, but if you'd like to, I'd recommend to have a characters chapter where you introduce who is playing who in the book. Basically what you do is you put a picture and you say blank playing as, and then you put the character's name in quotation marks. Simple as that. Just make sure you do it for everybody you're using a face claim for. Characters chapter will be the first part that people read when they open the book. Now, this is because somebody might want to actually find their Instagram accounts and go follow them, you know, to go follow them as an individual. It's also to ensure that the readers know that the book is fictional, and it doesn't mean that you envision that person to be with the other person. You can ship them if you want, like it's not illegal to ship somebody with somebody that you put in your book or whatever, but this is just to ensure that your followers know, like, this is not me shipping them together. This is just me claiming her as what I envision my character to look like. After you finish that, coming up with the characters and what you want the book to be about and the plot and everything, comes the title. This can be really tricky because a lot of titles are basic. A lot of mine are basic too, if I'm being completely honest. But I want it to be something that correlates with the book. It can be long or short. It doesn't really matter the length as long as it's rememberable. You don't want it to be something like, oh, I walked down the street with the bag in my hand. Make sure they're rememberable and simple. A few examples: forced marriage, forced by law, marriage by law. It gives readers an idea of what the book would be about. That's important too. If I'm being completely honest, some books on Wattpad or fan fictions in general don't really have titles that correlate with the book. It's really just like a song title or something that they liked. But me personally, I like to make sure my titles kind of correlate with my book. Like the one I have out now, you want to make sure it's like not too far-fetched of what the actual book would be about, you know? The next important factor is the description of the book. I can't stress to you how many descriptions I've read in my lifetime that have just gave away the entire plot and what the entire book is about. When it comes to a Wattpad book or any book in general, the description or summary, depends on what kind of book you're writing, it's what you see when you first click on a Wattpad story. You see the cover, the title, then the description, and like the copyright claims and like all the chapters and stuff. If you do want to put a summary of the story, then make sure it's subtle and doesn't give away too much of what the actual book is about, because like I said 25 times, if you give away the entire book, somebody's most likely not going to read it. They know what the book is about, and there's no point in reading it. If it gives away the entire plot of the book, then it draws a potential reader away because they basically just read the entire thing within a few sentences. Yeah, you don't want to do that. I have an example. She hates the idea, but her parents could care less. Follows Lena's journey while she's forced to do the thing she's feared most: marry a complete stranger. That's a description idea. You want it to be suspenseful, making them want to continue reading, but also like giving them an idea of what the book is about in general. Once you have the basis of the book done, like the plot, the title, everything that's important really, we move on to my favorite part ever. It is creating the cover and decorating it. Now, I'm obsessed with fan fiction covers on Wattpad. They're literally always so aesthetic and so pretty. Personally, I want to do an entire video of me showing you guys how I make my Wattpad covers and everything, because it's so fun for me. So let me know if you would want that. Like the video, let me know in the comments, or just like tweet me or something. Let me know if you want me to do that, because I will, and I feel like I'm gonna do it anyways. Now, you can make your covers on Wattpad has like automatic covers, but I suggest making your own because it will stand out more. Like I said, if you want me to do an entire video showing you how I do it, then yes. Now moving on to tips and tricks. We finished all the basics and everything that's very important in like writing a book. Writing your story, space out your text. Do not do not write it all in one fat paragraph. It's very ugly, it looks messy, it makes you look unprofessional, and it's harder for someone to keep track of where they left off if they look away from the book for a second. I can't tell you how many stories I clicked on. It was just one big paragraph, the entire chapter. It drove me insane, and I immediately click off. It's so messy, and I can't do it. Number 2, proofread / spell check all of your chapters before publishing. This is very important because I can't tell you how many times I've published a chapter with like 20 spelling errors. If you want to see more professional, it's also just better for you in general to spell check to make sure you have all your words correctly spelled. It's better so you don't have to go through that secondhand embarrassment. I personally use Grammarly. It's a free app. You can get it on your laptop, on your phone. I have it on both because I write essays. I'm in high school. I need it. I spell everything wrong apparently. But it's free and it corrects all mistakes of misspelled words and punctuation. It's super easy to use. This is not sponsored. Please, I wish. I use it all the time. I wish it was sponsored. It also capitalizes all your I's because, believe it or not, all of your I's need to be capitalized. Wow, I cannot speak. Also gives you synonyms and antonyms to use to help you, you know, like switch up your words, because if you like repeat your words, it also corrects that too, which is really, really cool. And yeah, go get Grammarly. It's worth it. Being cliche, being basic with the basic plot is gonna get you nowhere. That's like my number one saying. Everybody's gonna be able to predict your story by the intro. Like, honestly, you could be cliche, but there's ways of being cliche without being too cliche. Yes, being cliche is easy and can get you tons of reads, but it's not really original. Nobody should be guessing what's gonna happen at the end of your book by chapter 2. Like, it should not be that way. You need to keep them on their toes and keep them wanting more and trying to figure out what's gonna happen next. You can have a cliche plot, but add your own creativity to it so it's unpredictable and so people can actually enjoy it and not predict it. That's important. Next tip, be consistent. Like I said, try to have an uploading day so that way you make sure you're on track, and it also ensures your readers that they're gonna get another chapter soon. And this is also to ensure that your followers don't get bored of your book and possibly not read it once you publish a chapter after like 4 months. Now, this is a question that I ask myself all the time. Completely writing the story before publishing. I highly recommend, because that is what I'm doing right now with the book I'm writing. And I feel like it's so worth it because I've gotten writer's block so often for this book. Even though I'm so inspired to write it and I have so many ideas and like I know exactly what I want to happen. It's just, it happens, writer's block happens so often, and it's like you can't really control it. You can't force yourself to write because you have no inspiration. So I definitely recommend writing the full book before you go and publish it. It's definitely going to be worth it in the end, even though you're excited at the beginning because you're like, oh, I want to publish this now, but it's probably not going to be at its best until you're completely done and you go back and fix those mistakes and fix the idea that you thought was cool but didn't really fit in the end, you know? So I would say completely wait until you finish writing the entire story. But if you're like me and are impatient with, you know, writing an entire book, because it could be like 30 chapters before publishing it on Wattpad, what I would do is make sure you have over 10 chapters written. As you're uploading, make sure you're still writing. That way you have more chapters to publish while you're still, you know, you're still writing, but you have more chapters to publish. So the more chapters that are being published, the more that are being written. So it kind of balances itself out. If you are impatient like me, I recommend doing that. I did that for one of my other books and it worked decently. But like I said again, writer's block is a thing. Kind of messed it up, but it's all okay. Interact with your readers. They are the reason your book is getting out there, it is getting flown out there, it is being seen by the world because your readers are voting on it and reading every single time you upload it or you upload a chapter. So just make sure to interact with them. It gives them a sense of comfort and a sense of they know that you appreciate what they're doing for them. Oh, for you, sorry. You can reply to comments, which I do often, or you can add a author's note to your book, which we'll talk about that in a second. We're talking about that next. Just make sure you reply to comments. You can even mention them on the communications or community tab. Just be like, hey, thank you for all the reads, I really appreciate you. Leave your comments below and you can reply that way too. I've done that before. It's super dope. Just interact with your readers because you wouldn't be where you are without them. If you're not publishing something that isn't a chapter, make sure you always put A-N. This lets your followers or the readers know that have the notifications on for that book. It lets them know that it is an author's note and not a chapter. Even if it's just an update about a chapter or update about your life or something that happened or an explanation of why this chapter was short, always put AN in the title so that way they know it's not a chapter because you don't want them to be put off guard. Tags. This is another thing I want to talk about. Make sure you have over the recommended amount of tags. When you're going to publish a Wattpad book, it's going to have tags for you to put. It's like putting hashtags on TikTok. You put in things related to your book or names related to your book, and make sure you have over the recommended amount, which is 20. At least have 20. You want to make sure you have enough so it reaches out to those hashtags. So Wattpad can push it out through those hashtags and people can find it in the recommended and they'll start reading it. But make sure they're all related. If your book's about forced marriage, do not go and put a tag that says chosen love, because it wasn't chosen, it was forced. Make sure your tags are related to the book as well, so that way you don't attract the wrong readers, because you don't want to do that. My friend Tati was like, I don't know how to stay motivated. Please tell me how you're motivated all the time, because I talk to her about writing all the time. It's my favorite thing to talk about. I love writing. It's one of my passions of mine, and I'm so excited for this book to come out. It is a fan fiction. Go follow me on Wattpad. It's on the screen if you want to go read my books. A way that works for me staying motivated is for searching for a book that I know I'll like. Fanfic, because I read fanfics all the time. For example, I'll search a Harry Styles one and read through it, and just by reading a fan fiction, because that's the kind of books that I write, it'll immediately give me inspiration and ideas on what I can incorporate in my next book, or some things that I can incorporate in the one I'm writing now, because people have different plots and scenarios and ways of like describing things, and I don't know, it gets me hyped and motivated. It gets me inspired and ready to start writing again, and that is my favorite thing ever to do. If I'm ever feeling like I don't know what to do, I'll go on Wattpad, read a fan fiction. Instantly mood changer.
I was singing.
I'm about to get demonetized. Pursuing your ideas is the last thing we're going to be talking about. This video is already so long. As we talked about a few minutes ago, being cliche. There's nothing wrong with being basic and cliche. You can have a cliche topic, but make sure you're adding your own flair and your unique touch on it, because if it's the same as everybody else's story, nobody's going to want to read it if it's the same thing that they've already read, because they've already read it before. So make sure you're doing your own ideas and adding in your own like flair and ways of saying things and describing things, because that really will make a difference. Tati also asked me on how to start a chapter or start the book. Again, being cliche, the first thing you will ever see in almost every fanfiction is YN, get up, you're gonna be late for your first day of school. Things like that. Like, that's so cliche and so basic, and I've used it before. I'm not even gonna lie to you, like, I've used it before. And it's easy to do it because everybody does it, so why not just hop on the train and just do the same thing? And with it being cliche, somebody can really just be annoyed that that's all they're seeing in the first chapters, and that you could lose a potential reader, which is what you do not want. You could just simply change it to like a statement or something that the character or the main character is thinking in their head. I have an example. I hit my parents sometimes. That could be the first line in the book, and that could draw somebody in. Oh, that's relatable because me too. It catches the reader's attention and makes them want to figure out why he or she hates their parents so much. I mean, you know, it's small things like that. You don't really necessarily have to start it with a line. You could start it with a thought or something that the character always thinks, or something that relates to what the book is about, if that makes any sense. I've been talking so long. That is the end of this video. I hope this helped somebody out. Tati, I hope
Sorry.
I hope this helped somebody out. I really did. This took a lot of energy out of me. I was up all night writing notes, so I really do hope this helped somebody out. If you do want another part of this video, do not forget to let me know. Let me know in the comments, like this video if you did like it, and if you do want me to do that how I make my Wattpad covers video, also like this video. Yes, do not forget to subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys soon with a brand new video. Bye.